Hi guys, welcome to Chakra Sessions. I'm your host, Polly Jo Labbe, here broadcasting on Trinity Mystical Energy, our YouTube channel. So welcome guys, glad to have you with us. Today is all about modern day alchemy. It's kind of an interesting time to be talking about alchemy. And we're all going through it. The planet is going through it. We're going through it. But how about we talk about maybe doing that through intention? And that's what today is all about. So welcome, Brenda. Hi, nice to see you. Glad to have you in the house. And Rob's, welcome to YouTube land. Yay, we're here. We made it. It's always an interesting time to make a transition. We're doing transitions in all sorts of ways, in all sorts of places. And, here's one of the ways that we're doing that through launching our channel through YouTube. So, it's easier for you to access us. And it lets us do the format in the way that really appeals to us, and as Star Nations is taking a hiatus, we still got some spiritual work to do. So here we are, and glad to have you with me today. So, as part of what I do through teaching mystical energy healing, I teach all about the ways we go through the steps of transformation. And that is an alchemical process. And the alchemical process, some people think of the ways it was first represented, that you were taking, lead and melting it and turning it into gold. And to a degree, that is what you're doing. But the hidden message behind alchemy is that you're doing it within yourself. You're doing it in your own spirit. And you're taking what is not working and that lead, that dense energy that is just, and you're, adding a little fire to it and burning it and creating something new. And as we're all going through the shifts and the changes on the planet, it's really important for us to know and understand ways that we can become the magician in our lives. We can become the creator, and that is an alchemist. And some of you maybe have read some of the famous, alchemy books. The Alchemist is a pretty well-read book by Paulo Coelho in multiple languages. And I actually first experienced that book my senior year in high school, and I read it in Spanish for the first time. So what's interesting to me is whenever I reread that book for little nuggets of information, or when I'm teaching it for one of my classes, I hear it in English and Spanish at the same time, because I first learned it in Spanish, and it had a particular meaning to me at that time. I know, Brenda, I love that book. I actually love a lot of his books because they really talk about getting into the nitty gritty of our personal space, and how do we really bring into our life what we want, and lots of times we think it's outside of us. So we go searching and going to find them. And, there we are. So Trinity Mystical Energy is asking if the broadcast dropped. And Brenda, you let me know, because I know you were there for me. But I'm going to keep going until I hear otherwise. And on my end, it looks like we're here, but it always does. So in the alchemy energy, it's basically finding something that we don't like, either about ourselves or about our life or about our circumstances, and we dive into the magic of how do we change it? How do we change it from something that is blah and not working into something that's vibrant and golden that we love, that we love. So Rob's saying we're fine now, but it was gone for a bit. Okay. There we have it. Technology is a little interesting as the energy and the planet is going through a bunch of shifts. And I know here we had a lot of wind and we had a lot of rain at various points. And we've had a little glitchy, lights dropping for a quick second, or the technology dropping for a second. So it could be that almost anywhere. I know that's one of those things that can happen. It's part of our connection, right? Is through this media. Sometimes we can step out a bit. And there we have it. And I know for me, we have less people in the house today because I did not get to share it into all of my groups today, which is my bad. I'll share it after we're done so they can watch the rebroadcast if they want to, which is fine. So one of the things that my team was talking to me about was like understanding how to go through the stages of alchemy, because lots of times we know we're in the muck and we're in the, I don't want it, but we've gotten so used to having things right at our fingertips that going through the process of recalibration or change or transformation, we don't necessarily understand that we have moved through a stage or moved through a phase because it still feels a little mucky. So the first stage of alchemy, we often know that's when we're in the fire, when we're in that calcination, we're in that energy of it's burning away and things are turning to ashes. And that can be that energy of the crash and burn. And those of you who are really in tune with the tarot, that's the Tower card. When things just aren't working the way they have been, and you try to make it work a particular way, and everything just kind of blows up. So we're in that energy of like, poof, and it can feel very unsettling emotionally because there's no way to pick up all the pieces. A lot of things have burned away, but what's left, that substance after all that fire and the ashes, there's a little bit of substance left. And that's the part that we grab a hold of, and we, really let it slide through our hands. We let it really move into another form. So it might have been as solid as say, this is my job. There are a lot of people who had, their job 24/7, or they had their job, in a particular location, and all of that blew up last year. You had to do your job differently. You had to differently. We all learned how to Zoom like rapidly because communication had to change, and how we interacted. All of these ways that we had done things for so long blew up. And some people had trouble, got into a lot of overwhelm, and didn't know how to pick up the pieces that they wanted to keep and move forward. And so when we have that sort of explosion energy and everything pulls apart in the calcination, there's no putting that puzzle back together. There's not enough pieces left to make the picture that we had once before. So when that happens to us as a person, we then have that moment and we move into the stage called dissolution. And that's when our energy body really dissolves the things in the mental level, like how we think about things and how we are aware of them, and we go through our spiritual outlook on things, and we go all the way out to, you know, our group consciousness. So it's like, this is how I've always seen things, and then the barriers go away and things dissolve, and we have this aware moment of things could be different. And when that happens, you know, that timid, scared ego part of us who likes things a certain way, they often freeze. And I heard a lot of people last year especially who froze, right, in that overwhelm. And in that freezing energy, we were dissolving one part of ourselves and starting to become another. So we were dissolving the thoughts and the beliefs that held that old puzzle together, and went, I guess things are going to be different right now. And how's that going to go? Hi, Carol. Nice to have you. Welcome to our talk on alchemy, how to do modern day alchemy. And so as we, you know, we went through the fire and we had things dissolve off of our energy body, there's this part of separation. And it's basically when our old perception is sitting here and our new perception is starting to form. So we had our old ideas about how our job was, say, and now that's not the same. And so now it's like percolating over here. Well, maybe I could do this, and maybe I could do it this way. And well, maybe we can turn our dining room into an office, and that's what we'll do. It's that the old way is one piece and the possible new way is another piece. So there's this moment where we're separated between the two thoughts. We're living in the space in between. We're in between what was and what could be. And as part of being an alchemist, a magician in our lives, that place in between is really key, because it's in the breath that we can see what was and no longer serves. And we connect to spirit. We call in the divine energy to help us evolve into a new perception, you know, and whether that's for, you know, a few days or a few months or years or for the rest of our lives, it's still the same process. It's one of those things where when we want something to change, sometimes we just need to see how to breathe in between where we are now and what possibilities could lie out there for us. You know, our ego gets a little anxious in those times because it's comfortable where we are. Even if you don't like where you are, the ego is comfortable because it's a rhythm, a pattern, and energy it understands. And the problem is we are energy. So energy is not stagnant. Energy is always moving, shifting, morphing. And that's our natural form, is to shift and grow and change. Ellen says, hi, Polly Joe. My computer is restricting my access to certain YouTube videos. Rob, had to get in on my phone. The one thing I know that you might try is that make sure that you've subscribed to the channel through your computer. I know the subscription allows you to get on a little bit easier, and it also sends you like notifications when we go live, and that might help. But as we were saying earlier, technology has been really interesting in the past, week or even 2 weeks. So I'm not sure, but have your discussion with Rob. He's right here. He'll support you. Just type in what it was saying, and maybe he can walk you through the process. Okay, Ellen? But thank you for letting us know that, because it could be that other people are having the same difficulty. So if it's on us, we'll look into that. So I appreciate that help. So I'm going to go back real quick. So when we're in our life and we have something that's not working, you know, the universe gives us a certain amount of time to consciously choose to change it. And when we don't, then, you know, that's when we get hit by the cosmic 2x4. That's how I see it. Whew. Like, you got to change whether you want to or not. And in that process, we go through the calcination, which is the fire of, you know, everything, you know, and that is often how it feels. Like, you had this explosion and things just are not the same. And as you go through that fiery energy of breaking something apart, you know, from the ashes, you know, there are not all the original pieces aren't there anymore. There is a little bit of substance, you know, but there is not the original idea. And then when that energy hits, then we go through also dissolving the mental thoughts that created it. So say we were talking your job earlier. You had a job and it was always one way. You might not have even liked it particularly, but it was always in one way. And all of a sudden your job had to be done differently. You know, people got thrown into home offices and they weren't prepared for that. They, their schedules got turned upside down. Their kids were home. They were home. Maybe they didn't have dedicated space to work in. And it was commingling work and home. There are a lot of things that had that upheaval kind of energy. And for a little while, we were like, well, this is how it's always been. And, you know, our spiritual team in the universe was saying, okay, but that's not how it's going to be. It's going to shift. It's going to change. And so we had some thoughts that we had to let go, some beliefs we had to let go of. This is how my job is done. And we had to get creative on how do I do my job now in this new environment, in these new circumstances? And do I even want to do my job in the same way? Or do I want to stay even with this same job? Does it still serve me? Or did we stay in a job that we didn't like for too long? Like, all of those things kind of boiled together. That's dissolving of all of the things that weren't working on a thought process. It was also really allowing ourselves to get back to spirit and let spirit come in and help us create new ways and new solutions. And there's the stage of the in-between where it's the old way and we're breathing and we can see the new way, or we're trying to create a new way and we're in the in-between. We're not in the old and we haven't quite transformed into the new yet. And that's a place of separation, you know. And my team just keeps showing me like this glob, and you kind of pull it apart and it's like that spot in between is when we're in that. And then when we're in that separation, that's when we actually have more access to spirit coming through, spirit coming in, spirit inspiring us to create new things and live in new ways and be a new being. And when that happens in the modern day alchemy, it's like, you get to decide in that moment. You and spirit become co-creators of who you are and where you want to go and who you want to be. And, you know, with the modern day alchemy, like what's happening is we're being forced into alchemy by our environment, by life circumstances. And we can either go through it in an aware place or we can do it asleep. And the modern day alchemist understands that they're a co-creator, that if they don't like something in their life, time to set it on fire and try something new. And that doesn't have to be scary, and that doesn't have to be difficult. It's as easy as changing your mind, changing your thought, changing your clothes, right? And when we're in that space, it's like we can really create anything that we want to, anything that we believe we can draw to us, you know. And you've heard so many people over the years talk about the law of attraction, and being a magnet for what your heart desires. Well, it's when we're in that place of here's the old and here's the new that I want, when we're in that separation, right in that sweet spot, we shine a new magnet. And in the new magnet, we draw to us what we want. And maybe sometimes we draw something to us that we're like, oh, yeah, I'm not sure I want this either. That's okay. Then you separate again and you try it again. And that separation time, people talk about, you know, as that's when you go into meditation. That's when you go into prayer. That's when you go into intention. You know, we have the intention, we have the mental thought, but we're still separate from what we want to create with it. And in that separation, we bring spirit in between where we are now and what we want to bring in or who we want to be. And spirit and you basically bring it together like glue. So that is the next stage. That's the conjunction stage. And in the conjunction stage, it's that the separation, which some people will talk about as duality, comes together into one. So there's no separation between you and the divine. There's no male, female, right, wrong, spiritual, physical. It all merges into one energy. And so it all just comes back together. So it's creating your thought, where you want to be, like you in the separation, where you want to be, and it brings you two together so that you and your reality, you and yourself, you and your idea merge together. You become a unified field. And in that unified field, then you become one. And I know that may sound a little odd, but imagine, if you can, you know, hold on. I said to Rob earlier, you know, this is not a 1 hour topic, but I'm trying to give you the highlights here. So just imagine that you want to create a new job, right? You have a vision of a new job that you want to do, but you're here. The job is over here. Now, through the law of attraction, you know, and most of us have used that and had it work. It just depends how quickly it worked, right? And when we're saying the intention, we're bringing it closer to us. So we're staying still, but it's marching closer toward us. When we bring spirit in between, when we bring the divine in between, it can bring it to us faster and closer. And that is how we begin to match the job that we want, or the thing that we want, or the way we want to be. Any of those things, when we want to integrate with that energy, when we want to merge with it, we want our vibrational signatures to match. And that's how we magnetize it to us. It doesn't have to be a perfect match. It just needs to be in the ballpark. It's kind of like when you dial the radio station. Oh, I don't even know if people dial the radio anymore. I'm just hoping there's some old timers out there. When you dial the radio station, you know, there's times when you get the station when it first comes in, and you can kind of hear it. It's a little crackly, and then it gets clearer and clearer the closer you get. That's the same thing. You're dialing your radio station to that way of being, or that job or thing that you want. And the closer you get, the clearer you hear it, and the clearer it comes to you. And that part is when you start to become balanced. It's like you're bringing to you another piece of you. And as you bring that in, you become balanced, you become whole. You know, it's not like you were missing a part, but it's because you merge your intention with who you are now, and that's who you become. Or it's what you bring in. So say you wanted a new job that works from home, and they pay for all your internet, they pay for your workstation, you get more time off than you used to because it's more intense work or something. Or maybe you can get the same amount of work done that used to take 40 hours. Now you can get it done in 25. And in that 25 hours, you get to set your own time, but you still get paid the same amount as you did working 40, but no, only 25. And you have a life that's less stressful, right? So Rob says, I direct tune. Dialing is so 1992. I know. We were talking old school stereo equipment before we started. So I think that's how I got onto the dial. And Brenda said she spoke quickly of moving quickly, and it happened quickly. Yes. Many of you saw that for me too, right? I mean, I've been talking about moving to Maine for a long time, or quite a few years, but it was waiting for all the pieces to feel right. And all of a sudden my spiritual team last February is like, okay, go look now. And they narrowed it down to 2 places, and that was it. We signed a place to land, to rent. And I knew that we would get a house, in a short period of time, but we were downsizing quite a bit. So we weren't really clear on what might work. We got really close with the rental. We needed a little more storage space than we had. And I wanted a little more outdoor space than we had. And I wanted the laundry not in my kitchen. That was the other thing that was like, I don't think I like that. And so it was like, as soon as it was like, okay, now you're going to look, the house showed up like instantly, within, it was nuts, less than 24 hours. And then we were able to, we got financing and got our offer accepted within less than 24 hours. And we closed on the house in less than 30 days. And just all sorts of things were like, boom, they happened quickly because it was in alignment. I think that's what Brenda understands too, is she spoke of moving and it happened like that. It's because the minute we thought of it, we had already created it. And so there's no resistance. It's like that period, you don't have to dissolve anything and you don't have to be in a separate place. You already were in the separation when you were thinking the thought about moving. You were already separate from where you live now and where you used to live. And it was like, boom, you boomeranged because you held the thought in that blank space and it pulled you right together. So it was like it snapped into place in the conjunction. Sometimes we have to go through this fermentation process, and we all know what that feels like when we're hurrying up and thinking about it, or we're waiting for the bank to come through on the loan, or we're waiting for the realtor to get back to us on when we can have a showing. It's that fermenting is when we're waiting. And the more impatient we are with the fermentation process, the longer it takes. So when we have something that we're trying to create, we call in spirit, we bring it to us, and then we don't mull it over, and we don't rethink it, and we don't rehash it, because that's the fermentation process. And do you want to be like a bottle of wine that's got to ferment for years and years? Or do you want to be something that turns around quick? And for me, I'm a little speedy. I like to do things rapidly. So I do my best to have all of the things that could ferment, like the woulda, coulda, shoulda things, and don't allow them space for fermentation. That's those moments of doubt where you second guess yourself. When we start second guessing ourselves and thinking and spinning, that takes energy. And that energy is actually keeping what we're creating away from us. So if you can imagine, we're here, what we're creating is over here. In the middle is our thoughts. And if we're spinning this way, then the thing we're creating can't get to us because the thoughts are in the way. But if we have nothing but trust and belief in the divine, then there's no resistance and it can come to us rapidly. And when that starts to come in and the change starts to happen, like I'm sure Brenda would say, the house came, moving happened. But then there was the packing and there was the unpacking, right? And that took however long that took, or it could still be taking place. We still have a couple boxes that, I realized I had a couple boxes I hadn't gotten to. But that's okay. It's like, oh, right. That's unsettled energy. So I am still using energy for moving because things aren't out of boxes and aren't in a home and aren't in a place. They haven't landed yet. So in my alchemy energy and my magical energy, yes, I got us here rapidly, but not everything has stopped the moving process yet. Some of my boxes are still, it's fine to have things that we put in storage, but then you want to know what's in the box and you want to have it labeled. And you don't want to just stick it on the shelf and forget about it, right? You want to know where everything is and how everything is. And in that place, there's a little bit of distillation that happens. And in the distillation, it's like you notice a few things that still could dissolve a little further. Right? It's like, oh, okay, in this new job or in this new move, like I'll use the house because that's popping into my head. So I had my dishes in certain cabinets based on like, here's my sink, and I had certain dishes in this cabinet, certain dishes in that cabinet in my first house. And then when we rented, the cabinets were set up in a different way. So it created a different flow in my kitchen. And in the different flow in my kitchen, I learned that there were certain things that didn't work for me. So when we moved into this kitchen, you know, something as simple as having the coffee cups right above the coffee maker was key to me, because that was the flow of the kitchen, right? And so the heaviest dishes are right above the dishwasher, so that you're not moving across with them. And the things that we use less frequently are farther from the dishwasher, and the pots and the pans that we use most frequently are in the front, and the ones we don't are in side cabinets that we don't need as often. And my cat food is near the cat, where we have the cat bowls, because then they don't have to wait. You can get it out and get it to them rapidly, right? So part of the distillation is, when we shift and change something, we also realign our thinking about it. And then the final stage of the alchemy is the coagulation. It's when everything has come together in a brand new way. Now, I'm still living in a house, with my husband, but my kitchen looks completely different. My living room looks completely different. The layout of the room, all the bedrooms are different. There are a lot of old things that I got rid of that we no longer use, that don't need to be here taking up space. And I brought in some new color and some new things that really pop, right? And like you guys can see behind me, even from last week, I shifted my room around in here. So my over here, I have my wall of my Winnie the Pooh stuff, because you guys all know, Winnie the Pooh is my totem animal. So of course, I needed them nice and close. But then I also got a different organizer for some of my writing materials and things, because they were a little bit too congested and I could feel the energy getting stagnant. So as we're going through all of these big life changes, instead of being in a place of whoa, that's an old word that my team wants to use, being in a place of whoa about what was, in a place of despair or sadness or disappointment of what you're losing, or what feels lost because it's no longer there, or it can't be done the same way. We're about to step into, we're just finishing up, the season of Lent for those who are Christian. And even the energy of Passover, there is this connection to really releasing old thoughts and bringing in this new energy. And it's all based on trust in the divine. In Passover, it's more about, how strong is your beliefs, so that the plagues, and boy, aren't we in one now, can pass over you, because you have faith that it can pass over. And with Lent, Lent is about, what are you willing to release to allow your spirit room. And I feel like that's why we're talking about alchemy this week, is because we're in the final stages of purging in Lent. And then what version of ourselves do we want to rise from the ashes that last year was for us? Because we all had to change something. Brenda and I moved. So Brenda's saying, still unpacking, and that's the part that's not flowing. Feeling the need to fix things before moving forward. Yes. So I'll tell you our secret. It's not really totally a secret, but we took care of the spaces that we spent the most time in first. So the living room was absolutely first. We painted that, got that ready and got that set up. And we have a little bit of a dining nook that's near the living room and part of the kitchen. Not the whole kitchen, just the outer wall. That was important because it's how you walk into the house. It needed to feel fresh. It needed to feel new. It needed to feel like ours. It didn't have to be the whole house. And then I work. I work big time out of my office. I do distance healing. I do my broadcasts. I needed a safe place to do my work. And so this room got done rapidly. And this was the room, actually, I organized and set up this room before even my bedroom, because I can't work in too much chaos. I don't know about you. And in terms of fixing things up, it's like, make a list of priorities. Because otherwise they stay unfixed for a long time, or you don't move things in a way. So like our guest bedroom, that room did not get finished. Not even close. But that's okay. And yes, is my mother coming to visit and is going to be in this room that's not finished? Yes. That's what's going to happen because that wasn't a priority. So the things that were going to impede our quality of life, we took care of first. The things that we just wanted or didn't like the look of, or, like I really like a kitchen sink that's one basin. It's not a priority. The 2-basin sink is working just fine. And that'll get taken care of when it gets taken care of. But right now it's not up on the priority list. And I'm not fond of the faucet handles. They're a little antiquated. They're not really my style at all, but do they work? Yes. So do I need to fix them right this minute? No. So it's about quality. And do your best to really set up a room at a time. It's hard when there's chaos everywhere. It's really wonderful to have a place that feels settled. And I know that's really hard when you move. And like for us, the unsettled stuff, it all went in the guest room. So it wasn't out and about and really distracting us. When we had extra time, we then went into the guest room and took out a box, and then put that one box away. And sometimes the box would turn into 2 or 3 or 4. And we're now we're at the end. We have a few more. I think we have 4 boxes that I hadn't gotten to. And I think because a number of those things I don't love. But it's about having a place to land and where you feel comfortable, where your soul feels comfortable. So the thing that can be the most chaotic is having a bunch of projects that all need completing at the same time. So it's about really trying to pick one room at a time if you can. What's your priority? For us, the living room was where we relax and we hang out. So, and during the pandemic, I mean, that's really your only place where you have entertainment, right? Is watching movies or playing video games or something, having conversation. We have, board games and things like that. It's having a place where we could do that. And that was a priority, was important. And so as part of your alchemy of your move, you're in between, you're in that separation stage. You're in the old, here's our old house and our old way, and here's our new house and our new way. And you're in between because you're not fully settled. You're not in the old space anymore, but now you got this new space to go. I hope that made sense. I know it sort of makes sense, some part of my energy. But it's when we have a to-do list that's 100 miles long, we become overwhelmed and we freeze and we don't do anything. That was one of the things that happened with my husband and I. We had a really big house, and it was just too hard to maintain. It was great when our kids were little, but we never got everything fixed and we never got on top of everything. And anytime you walked by it and saw it again and again, it was overwhelming and frustrating. And to step into a house that we can manage and be like, done. Yeah, they can fix it up and they can make it however they want it. So start where you need it the most, and some people need it in their bedroom the most because they need that sanctuary when they go to sleep. Me, I need not to have chaos when I walk in the door. If I walk in the door and it's chaotic, it just depletes my energy. It makes it hard for me to do anything. And like I said, my workspace, I needed to be able to work without digging for things. So I hope that's helping. And there's a really good oil for that. It's called Release Your Story, which helps release the energy of the old, and it makes room for you to create new energy in your new home. And we're sort of talking. Ellen's a realtor, so Ellen gets it. she's often in the in-between of people, creating, leaving their old and stepping into their new. She's often with people in that separation place where they're bringing in the divine and they're dreaming about how to do things differently. And it can be a magical place to be. And it's just a matter of really stepping in and allowing yourself space to have a vision of something different. Try different wall color, or try different, furniture. Are we going to redo the trim because I don't like the trim? Yes. And have we already started in some places? Yeah, we started along the baseboard because we were painting in a particular way and it was easy to take off the old trim as we were painting. And maybe something like that would work for you. It's little bite-sized pieces that are manageable. That's the other piece. Because like I said, overwhelm is not helpful, because then nothing gets done. And then everybody gets a little cranky in the whole family. So I don't wish that on anyone. And my youngest son just moved completely across country. He moved from Massachusetts to Long Beach, California. And they left behind, they got rid of all of their furniture. So basically landed in California with no furniture and had to start again. But they didn't love any of the furniture they had here in Massachusetts. So they're like, why should we even bother taking it with us if we don't love it? And while, the mother in me is like, what are you going to do? Well, they had an air mattress. That's what they did initially. But it gave them space to move their stuff forward to other people who loved it more. And now they get to start fresh, like really start fresh. And maybe that's part of the energy that's coming up for you. And Brent, Ellen loves being in the in-between. She loves that spot. So we are going to just do a quick grounding meditation. And we're going to invite spirit to come in. Because most of us are in some form of the separation of where it was and where we want to be. And when we call spirit into that place of separation, it can bring to us more rapidly what we want and how we want it. That's the real magnet, is when we call in divine spirit to help us with our vibration so that we become a match. Then it happens like that. And Brenda knows that. I know that. Ellen's seen me do it. So, and I know she's done it on occasion. So it happens all the time. And I'm sure we all have stories when things just like appeared out of nowhere almost. So let's do a little meditation to invite spirit into that separation so that we can create something new. All right. So I invite you to just take a couple of deep breaths and release all the thinking you may be doing, because that was a lot for a short amount of time. And we're going to ask our heart to create a nice, wide, solid grounding cord to go down through our energy body, anchoring us in the here and the now. Connecting our body, our mind, and our spirit with the divine. And we invite in our spiritual team to surround and protect us in a bubble of infinite love and infinite light. And we set the intention that this healing and these teachings are for the good of all and harm to none, including ourselves. And we welcome in the energy of transformation, transmutation, and alchemy. In whatever stage we may be in our life's process. And we invite in the divine energy into the spaces in between, filling us with inspiration, with hope, with ideas, and with magic that we can create whatever we desire in our lives, in our environment. Helping us with the fires of change so that we can go through the stages with grace, with ease and awareness. And calming the energy of our ego, that may be worried or anxious about change. That may experience change as bad or difficult, and welcoming in a shift in the ego's perception. So that change can be exciting, rewarding, and magical. And whatever energy may be shifting and transforming for you right now, whether it's within you or within your environment or your job or your relationship, just breathing divine energy in all the spaces in between the stages, returning flow to places that might feel stuck, shining the brilliance in, and really grounding into our reality, the magic of change, and being co-creators with the divine in all aspects of our lives, even when we forget. And just feeling in our heart space what it will feel like on the other side of change. The relaxation, the joy, the ease, the dissolving of the chaos, and the welcoming in of the sun and the light into all the nooks and crannies of our life. And so it is. And now take a moment of gratitude for your team and the divine for connecting to you and through you in this moment. Reminding you how to shift and change your life in any way that you need to or want to. Yay. I love that. So there you go, guys. um, so I just wanted to remind you that, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel here, Trinity Mystical Energy. That will let you see when we're going live, when new videos are posting. And we will share this on the Facebook page, but sometimes it might not be live because we're going to use the YouTube format because it's just the technology flows in many different ways. And it allows us to be a little more creative than we've been able to be, which is very important to us. And as I was talking about the release your story is an oil that helps you let go of what you want to have in the past. It basically cuts cords with that energy and allows you to move forward. It's a very powerful oil for that, an oil blend for that. And we also have the manifestation blend, which really is when you want to create something and you haven't even gone through the fire of separating from the old way, and you want to bring it to you. It helps you move through the alchemical stages rapidly. So both of those are available to you on my website, which is www.trinitymysticalenergy.com. And Rob will make sure to post that for me so that you guys can have that link. And you can just go to the Mystical Healing Boutique. And on that tab, click on that, and it has everything there. There's crystals and books and oils and even some really cool artwork that can help you with bringing in that transformation energy, because we are all able to connect with the divine and really bring to life what we want. And sometimes we forget. So it's a great place for you to go and see and be and gather that. And I'm very thankful for that. And, you know, I also have, for those of you who might be interested, we have this class coming up on April 13th. That is called the Introduction to Energy Medicine. It's being offered online. It's a 2-hour class just for $20, which is great. And it's talking about the basics of your energy system. And actually, a lot of our basics have started to already change with the new energy. And my team has been talking about some of these for a number of years already. But why you might want to understand your energy to change aspects of your life, your physical life, your emotional, mental, even your spiritual life, because all of those things are part of our co-creation. And when we understand our energy, we can heal ourselves. And that's the medicine part. And what oils and foods and exercises and things can shift and change and create the alchemy for you and with you. So if you're interested in that, you know, join us for that. Trinity Mystical Energy will be offering one class every month, a 2-hour class. We'll rotate days of the weeks and things like that so that it'll be available. And it's through Zoom, so you can participate or just get the recording if you can't make it and are interested in the topic. But we'll be here. So thank you to Rob for being here and being my co-pilot and getting us going. And thanks for you guys who joined us live. That was great. Brenda and Carol and Ellen and Rob. Really happy to see you. And we'll see you next time here on Chakra Sessions. Bye for now.